Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. I'm Bobby Sylvester, and today I'm going to be talking starter sit with you. I apologize for the technical difficulties. You'll probably see some glitches here. We're trying to figure out what's going on there. It's going to change the look, but it won't change the overall content, so please bear with us if you don't mind. We've got a jersey giveaway going on for you guys. We're giving away a signed Michael Thomas Saints jersey. You can go find that and sign up at fantasypros.com/jersey-giveaway. And all it's going to ask you to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to grow our channel. And if you don't mind while you're at it, just click and like on the video if you're watching these shows, or at the end of it if you appreciate the advice. We do really appreciate all the likes that you guys can give. Now, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to go through position by position: quarterbacks, running backs, wide receiver, tight end, DST. And I've got 2 or 3 players to really key in on, but I'm going to talk about a lot of these guys who are on the fringe of startable. And this is for 12-team leagues. I'll probably hit some for 10-team, 14-team leagues just in case. But if I don't answer all your questions, I do post my weekly rankings Thursday afternoons on my Twitter at BobbyFantasyPro. You can follow me there, and it should answer all your start-sit questions for whether you're in Superflex leagues, whether you're in a shallow 8-team league, whatever it may be, full PPR, half PPR, whatever it is, my rankings are available for you there at Bobby Fantasy Pro. And also, we've got a tool for you guys called Who Should I Start? You can plug it into my playbook. You just enter your team's URL. It takes like 5 seconds, and you get all the information from all the experts. So it'll say 82% of people say that you should start Brandon Cooks over Robert Woods, or so forth. And so if I don't answer your questions, because we're going to have a Q&A at the end of this show, you can go check out our tools there. But we'll start here at the quarterback position with Andy Dalton, and he's somebody that I think is a tremendous streamer this week. I've got him as my QB number 7 going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. And Dalton's been really a quality quarterback the entire season. And a lot of that's been because of good matchups, but this may be his best matchup yet against Kansas City. So the expert consensus, so we take like 140 experts, and just as a whole, what the expert community thinks about a player, that's their ECR ranking. So Andy Dalton's right now is QB 8. So I'm not alone going out on a ledge saying, hey, start Andy Dalton. We would all start Andy Dalton over guys like Drew Brees against Baltimore, Matthew Stafford against Miami, even Deshaun Watson against Jacksonville, who ECR has at number 17. Let's talk about Deshaun Watson, because he's going up against Jacksonville, right? He does have a nice, safe floor with his rushing ability, but Jacksonville just stops everybody. I mean, you remember what Pat Mahomes did against them a couple weeks ago. It was not pretty. I bet most of you wish you hadn't started Pat Mahomes, even though he's a good start each and every week. He probably ended up like QB 11 or 12, if I'm remembering right. And Watson does have a decent floor. He's not the worst start in the world, but he just got shredded by Buffalo. He went 15 for 25, 177 yards, 5 fantasy points. He's a good quarterback, but against Jacksonville, you don't start a good quarterback. You start a great quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. Yeah, Pat Mahomes is all right. Besides that, there's really no one I would start against Jacksonville. So I think Deshaun Watson is somebody that you sit. A couple other guys that I would start here with Andy Dalton. A lot of people have been asking about Jameis Winston. He's a start against Cleveland. Cleveland's secondary has been a lot better. But, I mean, just think about what Ryan Fitzpatrick, an inferior quarterback, did with all these weapons. Tampa Bay has no offensive line. They're not going to run the ball. They don't have a running game. They're going to pass the ball a ton. Jameis Winston is going to be a start almost every single week. I've got him as my QB 8 right behind Dalton. Carson Wentz is also a start this week against Carolina, who's kind of a pass funnel defense. And so they stop the run really well. That's going to force Philadelphia to pass the ball quite a bit. So I've got Wentz as my QB 10. I mentioned Drew Brees. You can start him against Baltimore, who has an exceptional defense. I mean, it's probably the Jags and then the Ravens as the second best defense in the NFL. But even so, Drew Brees is good enough that I would start him. But like I said, if you've got a guy like Andy Dalton, Andrew Luck, Carson Wentz, Jameis Winston sitting out there available to you, or if they're on your bench, I would start any of those guys above Drew Brees. Matthew Stafford is also right there behind Drew Brees. And I've got him behind Baker Mayfield, too, against Tampa. Baker goes against Tampa, who's the easiest secondary to pass against. He's got the ankle injury, but he's not even on their injury report. He's playing. He's going to pass the ball a lot. It's going to be a high-scoring game. I've got Baker Mayfield QB 13, Matthew Stafford QB 14. Joe Flacco is my QB 15. He's a good streamer as well. So is Mitch Trubisky. They go up against New Orleans and against New England Patriots. And Blake Bortles, if you're absolutely desperate, you can pick him up because Leonard Fournette's going to be out. TJ Yeldon might even be out. Blake Bortles is going to throw the ball 40 times. I know he's not a good quarterback. I'm not saying he's a good quarterback whatsoever, but he is a decent fantasy quarterback, and you can stream a guy who's going to throw 40 passes and probably run the ball 7 or 8 times. Again, if you're absolutely desperate, Eli Manning against Atlanta, and even CJ Beathard, who might throw the ball 35, 40 times. He's not a great quarterback, but he does have Kyle Shanahan, and that will absolutely help. Now let's move on over to the running back position, and I'll start here with Tariq Cohen, who I think is an incredible start this week. In fact, I think Tariq Cohen, you can start almost every week in the flex. The reason why, he's got 31 receptions already. He's on pace for a classic Darren Sproles type of season. You remember when Sproles was back playing for the Saints, and he was like your perfect flex play. He's going to get 170 touches on the season, over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. And Tariq Cohen's on pace for a better season than any season Sproles has ever put up, and he's doing it quietly. He's getting better each and every week, and this is a perfect game script for him. Bears are probably going to be without Khalil Mack, so it's going to be a higher scoring game than the Bears are used to playing in. They're going to be playing from behind against the Patriots, passing the ball a lot, probably to Tariq Cohen quite a bit. So I've got Tariq Cohen all the way up at running back 17 this week. I know Mike Tagliere, who I host the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast with, he's got him all the way up at RB 14 this week. So we're definitely not alone there. Cohen right now, let me see his ECR. His ECR is sitting at RB 24. I would imagine that's going to bump up, especially when the news comes out about Khalil Mack ending up missing this game. Somebody else that I'm starting is Royce Freeman. He isn't something I would do every week. It's not like the Tariq Cohen situation where I think he's a great start every week. In fact, I've even dropped Freeman in a couple leagues. But if he's out there, you can pick him up against Arizona, because Arizona has the worst run defense in the entire NFL. Maybe Detroit is worse. But I think that Denver's going to run all over Arizona this week. It's not just going to be Phillip Lindsey. It's going to be Royce Freeman as well. So I've got him all the way up there, RB 24. He's a back-end RB 2 or a decent flex play. Next guy on my list is Marlon Mack. And I mean, he's on the injury report, but he's almost definitely going to play. So you start Marlon Mack against Buffalo. Buffalo's defense has been a lot better lately, but let's not forget, second half of the season last year, they had the worst run defense in the NFL. They started the season just with a horrible run defense. Like I said, it's been better, but I think it's still a defense that we pick on. Marlon Mack is going to split the backfield a little bit with Nyheim Hines, because Hines is a great third down catching back, but Marlon Mack is electric. We saw it last game. He was substantially better than Jordan Wilkins or better than Nyheim Hines did any game this season. I think Mack is going to continue to get a boost in his carries. He's probably going to be sitting at 14, 15, 16 this week, and you start a player like that against Buffalo. Now, somebody that I'm not starting is Dion Lewis. Man, I don't know what is going on with this Tennessee offensive line. It was bad last year, and we all thought it was going to be better, but it is even worse. They allowed 11 sacks last week in like 45 plays. That is just dreadful. They're not blocking for the running game either. Derrick Henry has not been a top 40 running back once in 6 games, so obviously don't start him. But Dion Lewis isn't doing all that much either. The Los Angeles Chargers have a pretty good run defense as well, much better in the secondary. But the Chargers, I mean, I think they're a real Super Bowl contender. This run defense is solid. I've got Dion Lewis right now as RB 35, and that's where he sits in terms of ECR as well. Again, that's expert consensus rankings. So we've got to behind guys like Frank Gore, if you can believe it, Wendell Smallwood, Royce Freeman, Austin Eckler, Ito Smith. Somebody that I have behind him, though, and this might come as a surprise to some people, is Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller is going up against Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's much better in the secondary, just like the Chargers, but they're also very good against the run. Houston's offensive line is also dreadful. Lamar Miller has not been doing much this season. Like, sure, he's a safe wide receiver. He's a safe running back 3, running back 4. So if you need to start him, you can go ahead and do it with buys and everything. But it's just not a very good play. Like I said, there's guys like Frank Gore sitting out there who you can pick up: Wendell Smallwood, Bilal Powell, Isaiah Crowell, Royce Freeman, Marlon Mack, Tariq Cohen, Kenyon Drake, Peyton Barber. There are so many better starts than Lamar Miller, so I would recommend benching him. Let me talk about a couple other guys that I would start that I get questions on, and maybe these are obvious to you, but enough people have asked that I want to clarify. TJ Yeldon, if he plays, start him. If he doesn't play, Jamal Charles, yeah, you can start him. I think he's a top 30 running back because he's probably going to get 90% of the snaps. They don't have any other running backs, guys. Blake Bortles cannot do it all, and you don't want Blake Bortles to do it all. So I would imagine Jamal Charles gets 14, 15 carries if he starts, and probably 4 or 5 receptions as well. I don't think they're going to need to rely on him the whole season, so don't worry about them running him into the ground. Obviously, that's not the type of running back he is, but if they have to do it, they have to do it. Phillip Lindsey, I already mentioned. He's not a must start every week, but against Arizona, you start him. Alex Collins, I know he hasn't been good, guys. I know New Orleans has a good run defense as well, but you play a guy who's a starting running back like Alex Collins. Matt Breda is a start. I know he's banged up. We'll see what happens there. Maybe something will come out that he's not playing, but for now, it seems like he's going to play. Corey Clement is a start. He's going to be a start almost every week, even against a defense like the Carolina Panthers. Kenyon Drake, I already mentioned. Yeah, he's not getting the carries, but again, Detroit is the worst or second worst run defense in the NFL. Let's see. It looks like I already mentioned everybody else. Again, if you have questions, you can ask them on here. You can hit me up on Twitter at BobbyFantasyPro, or you can check out my rankings. Let's move on over to the wide receiver position, and I'm going to start with Josh Gordon. I don't know why, but I've been getting so many questions about Josh Gordon that I had to include him in here. He's going up against Chicago, and everyone thinks, man, this might be the best defense in the NFL. And it might be, but it doesn't mean their secondary is really that great. He's got a great matchup against Akamanora. And so I've got him as my wide receiver 24 this week. He led the team in targets and receptions. I think that Josh Gordon is going to be fantastic, a must start every single week going forward. ECR also has him at 26. Antonio Callaway is my next player on the list. And a lot of people are not playing Callaway. He's down there at wide receiver 46. I get it. He has not been very efficient, but he's going up against Tampa guys. And since they traded Josh Gordon, he's got 35 targets, which is top 15 in the NFL. I think that he's a solid start. I've got him in my top 40 this week. Somebody else that I'm playing is Chester Rodgers. Again, I don't feel great about it. I don't feel great about any of these guys, but with T.Y. Hilton out, Chester Rodgers is a de facto number one wide receiver for Andrew Luck, who's going to throw probably 750 passes this season. He's going to break an NFL record at the pace he's on. He's going up against Buffalo again. Their defense is substantially better, but anytime you get a guy who's probably going to get 7-8 targets, I think that you start him. So I've got Chester Rodgers also within my top 40. Two wide receivers I'm definitely not starting, and then we'll just kind of run through the wide receivers again before we move on to tight ends. Corey Davis. I can't believe I'm saying this because I love Corey Davis. I've been trying to trade for Corey Davis. But guys, he's played one good game all season. The reason why is because he's had some really tough matchups, but that's going to keep happening. They have nobody else to pass to. So I think that Corey Davis is going to continue to be picked on. They're going to be guarding him with Casey Hayward this week, which is just a disaster. He destroyed Amari Cooper. He destroys everybody. He's one of the best shadow cover corners in the NFL. And so Corey Davis, I've got outside my top 40 this week. I think that after this week, you can trade for Corey Davis, but this week, please don't start him. Will Fuller is also somebody that I'm not starting this week. It's just not a very good matchup for him. Hold on just a second. He's going up against Jacksonville. So obviously, I don't know if it's going to be Jalen Ramsey or AJ Boye. Whoever it is, I don't think that you want to play Will Fuller. I think this is a Kiki QT week because he plays in the slot. Jacksonville's not been very good in the slot. They've been great outside. They've been great against the run. And so I'm avoiding Will Fuller this week. Now let's run through a couple of the other wide receivers that I like here that a lot of people have been asking me about. Julian Edelman. I know he hasn't really got it going yet, but you start him against Chicago. Michael Crabtree's probably going to get Lattimore. I don't really love that, but I'm still starting him. Sterling Shepard, he's not going to be great every week, but he does go up against Atlanta. I know Eli Manning is not much to talk about, but this Atlanta secondary is just dreadful. So you start Sterling Shepard, Devin Funchess, same deal against Philadelphia. Deshaun Jackson, I know he's kind of a boomer bust guy, but once you start getting into this range of the wide receiver 3 guys, who's not a boomer bust guy? I mean, I guess you could talk about like Willie Snead. He's a solid play, but pretty much everybody else is just some weeks they're on, some weeks that they're off. And so I think it's going to be the same kind of thing with Jackson. Maybe he burns you, but it's the same case with anyone else. So you start him this week. I've got him top 30. ECR has him top 30. Taylor Gabriel, same thing. I think he's a boomer bust guy. He's been getting more targets. He's a more complete receiver than he used to be, but you can play him. I'm a little bit nervous about Calvin Ridley because he's only got, 22 receptions on the season. I think he might draw Janoris Jenkins. So it's kind of ugly, but just based on this Atlanta pass defense, I think you can start him and maybe even Mohamed Sanu. I've got Ridley as my wide receiver 38, so he's a flex play, but ECR has him up at 32, so you shouldn't feel shy about playing Calvin Ridley. Another play that I'm not going with is Keelan Cole. I just really have not been impressed with what he's doing this season. Maybe it's because everyone's treating him like he's the number one receiver for Jacksonville. But he's going up against Houston. They've got a really good secondary. Bortles is going to be under pressure. And I think Bortles is going to get his, but who knows if it's going to be Cole or if it's going to be Westbrook or if it's going to be Moncrief. You could make a case to say that Keelan Cole is their number 3 receiver, and yet everyone's ranking him still like he's the number 1. I don't think he's a lock to start. Somebody that I do think is a lock, though, is Marquise Goodwin. And a lot of people are probably going to say he's just a boom or bust guy just based on his game log so far. But remember, he's playing with an injury. I think he was finally healthy last week. Beathard's, I think he's going to get his against the Rams. The Rams have given up the most points to wide receivers over the last 4 weeks, if you can believe it. Everyone thought they had this great secondary. And maybe they do when they're healthy, but they've been dreadful so far. So I think Goodwin you can play. T.Y. Hilton, obviously, if he plays, you start him. Chris Godwin is a start for me against Cleveland. Christian Kirk is a start against Denver, whose secondary is not as scary as they're made out to be. They haven't really been that good for the past 20 weeks, if you can believe it. And Christian Kirk is their number one, at least until Larry Fitzgerald gets healthy. Kiki QT, I mentioned, I think he's a must start. Somebody else I would play, Willie Snead. But then we get down to the guys that I would not play. Let's run through them really quick. Mike Williams against Tennessee. They've got a funnel defense. A pass funnel defense. But Mike Williams is kind of the number 3 there behind Tyrell Williams. Chester Rodgers, I mentioned, you could play him. In fact, if T.Y. Hilton's out, I'm definitely playing Chester Rodgers. Paul Richardson against Dallas is an out for me. Larry Fitzgerald, I'm not playing him quite yet until we see him be healthy. Cortland Sutton, I think you can pick him up now, and he's going to be a long-term play, but I'm not playing him this week against Arizona in what I think is going to be a low-scoring game. And then Jermaine Kearse, I'm kind of on the fence against him because I think he does step in for Quincy Enunwa, that reception hog, but it's against Minnesota. So right now I'm on the outside looking in, but if you're desperate and need to pick someone up, I think he's a decent play. And Zay Jones, same kind of thing. You can get him in 99% of leagues, but they're going up against Indianapolis. And I think with Derek Anderson passing instead of Josh Allen, this is actually a decent situation. Zay Jones, if you can believe it, is their number 1 receiver in Buffalo. So if you're desperate, you can go there. All right. CJ Uzomah is a good streaming tight end this week. And I know that he's a name that a lot of people don't know, but you know what? Andy Dalton is a good option this week, and he loves throwing to tight ends. And so I think he's a good play against Kansas City. I've got him as my tight end 10. ECR has him at 13, but I've got him ahead of Greg Olson, who I guess is the next guy that we need to talk about. Guys, Greg Olson has not done anything over the past 2 years. I know he had like one good playoff game, one good regular season game. Besides that, he's been like tight end 20, guys. This is not a good tight end anymore. I don't know why people would start him against Philadelphia, who's one of the best teams against tight ends. I'm not doing it right now. His ECR is 12. I've got him all the way down at tight end 17. Somebody else that I'm not playing this week is Kyle Rudolph. You can play him. Like, I'm not saying go drop Kyle Rudolph or, go pick up Benjamin Watson or Jeff Swaim or something if Rudolph's your only guy, but I do have him outside of my top 12. He's going up against the Jets, and Kyle Rudolph is just kind of a touchdown or bust guy. Some players I am starting, David Njoku is a lock for me. I've got him in my top 3. Jordan Reed, I know he's been struggling, guys, but he's been getting a lot of separation. Alex Smith loves separation. And Jordan Reed, I think, is going to continue getting targets. Trey Burton, I know he's only got 5 or 6 targets per game, but you know what? He's getting it done most weeks. This is going to be a high-scoring game, like I mentioned, for the Chicago Bears going up against New England. And Austin Hooper, he's got 23 targets in his past 2 games. I think you start him as well. All right, let's move on over to DST, guys, and then we'll get to Q&A. So let's start with the Detroit Lions. I think the Detroit Lions are an incredible streamer this week. Obviously, Indianapolis ECR has them at number 2, so we don't really need to talk about them. They're already picked up. But if you still need a defense special teams, you can go to get Detroit coming off the bye. They've got 17 sacks in 5 games going up against Miami, and not just Miami, but Miami with Brock Osweiler. So I've got Detroit as my number 7 DST this week. I've also got Buffalo right up there as a start against Indianapolis. Somebody that I'm not playing this week is Chicago. I already mentioned it's going to be a high-scoring game. They're going up against New England. New England does not turn the ball over. Khalil Mack's probably going to be out. I'm not saying go drop Chicago. They're probably going to end up being fine. I think they're one of the 2 or 3 best defenses in all of football, but you don't play them this week. You also don't play Baltimore against New Orleans. At least I want it. Carolina, I want to play them at Philadelphia. A couple other teams, New England, you can usually play them. I'm not playing them this week against Chicago. I think Chicago puts points on the board. I don't think Trubisky is really a big turnover guy. I think we're going to see that as his career plays out. Let's see, a couple other defenses that I am starting this week. Houston against Jacksonville. Anyone against Blake Bortles, let's be honest. Arizona against Case Keenum, who's been turning the ball over a lot. And then all the, every week teams, Jacksonville, Los Angeles Rams, Minnesota, the Chargers. going up against Marcus Mariota, who is not a good quarterback. I don't care what Titans fans say. So, all right, let's get on to the Q&A. And the more simple that you can keep them, the better, because there's just, so much that's going on in this comment section that I can't get to them all. But like this one from Peter, it says Watson or Brate. That's really simple. I'm going with Watson. That is not a good situation to be in, but I would go with Watson. Let's see here. Phillip Lindsey or TJ Yeldon. I've got Yeldon this week over Phillip Lindsey, but obviously he's questionable. So if it's a game time decision, you might want to roll out Lindsey if you're not going to be there right when we find out whether or not he's playing. Let's see. Is Sanu Tyler Boyd or Stephon Diggs? Tyler Boyd or Keenan Allen? Definitely Keenan Allen. Man, this is a good situation to be in. I can't believe you're going to have to bench them. The way I would rank them this week, the way I've got them ranked, is Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, and then Tyler Boyd. Those are 3 good receivers. All right, let's get, maybe 10 more here. Jordan Howard or Freeman. Royce Freeman, I'm assuming. Yeah, because it's not Devontae Freeman. He's on IR. Just making sure you all know that. I would definitely start Jordan Howard over Royce Freeman. I like Freeman's matchup this week, but Howard is still a good play. I know he's not playing as much with Tariq Cohen cutting into his snaps, but he's still a quality running back most weeks. OJ Howard or Trey Burton. Let me see where I've got them ranked because it's really close. I'm pretty sure I got them back to back. Let me see here. So OJ Howard or Trey Burton. I've got Burton as my number 7. I've got Howard as my number 8. ECR has Howard at number 11 and Burton at number 8. So we all pretty much agree Trey Burton over Howard. All right, next one here. Marlon Mack over Dion Lewis. Yes, I agree with that one. Let's scroll up here. Christian Kirk or Chris Godwin. Both of these are quality plays this week. I would start them both, but if you have to choose between the two of them, it's Chris Godwin for me. I think he's the better receiver. I think he's in a better situation. Tyrell Williams or Larry Fitzgerald. I've got Tyrell Williams this week. I don't love playing either of them, but I think Fitzgerald is safer. I think Tyrell Williams is just kind of a boom or bust guy. Like he's going to have big weeks like he had last week. And if you have him on your bench, it's really going to suck. But because of that upside, I would play him. Just know that it's kind of risky. Matt Breda or Marlin Mack. I've got let me double check on this one because I don't want to give you the wrong advice. Because when I do this, I'm looking at all the projections and everything. My mind's really clear. I'm not just blitzing through a bunch of questions. So I want to refer back to my rankings, which is what I'm using to set my own lineups. So let's see again. It's Breda or Mack. I've got Marlon Mack as 26 and Matt Breda up at 22. So I've got Breda even against the Rams, DST. Tevin Coleman or Devin Funchess. I'm going with Tevin Coleman out of those guys. Let's get 2 more here. LeSean McCoy or Phillip Lindsey. I'm going with LeSean McCoy. He's got a good matchup, and I think that this Buffalo offense is more competent with Derek Anderson behind center. All right, and David Njoku or George Kittle. I've got Njoku in my top 3. So for me, it's David Njoku. All right, guys, that's all for today's live stream. Again, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. We're giving away a Michael Thomas signed jersey. That's fantasypros.com/jersey-giveaway. All you have to do is subscribe, hit the like button on this, and we really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your football.